choose the New York that you came in with. I think that's all that I have to beg of you guys. And so with that out of the way, it is my true pleasure and honor to introduce the oldest resident Native American dance company in New York, the Thunderbird American Indian Dancers.
So much. I'm so glad to see all of you here this afternoon to help us celebrate Native American Heritage Month. Now, I'd like to tell you what we just did. What we just done here is to sing what we call a welcome or a greeting song. I always tell people that many, many years ago, it was traditional when one group of Native American people would go to visit another group of Native American people. Before they entered the village, they would always stop and they would sing a song, a welcome song, or a greeting song. And I think that's a great way to say hello to somebody. I always tell people, next time you go to visit one of your friends, and you knock on the outside of the door, and they come and open up the door, sing them a song. And I guarantee you're going to see a smile on their face that's going to say, oh, it's so great to see you. Well, that was our greeting song, a welcome song for you this afternoon. We're called the Thunderbird American Indian Dancers. And right now we have our headquarters here in New York City at the American Indian Community House. Well, we come from different tribes and different parts of the country. So before we start, I'd like to introduce the members of the group that I have here today, tell you who they are, where they come from, what tribes they come from, and their Native American names. Now these names are very important to us because, as you know, your name is what helps to identify who you are. And so these names help to identify who we are. They also help us to keep in contact with our traditions and our heritage. I'd like to start way down on my left-hand side by introducing you to the young lady. She's from two tribes. She's from the Cherokee tribe from North Carolina and also from the Taino tribe. They come from a small group of islands down in the Caribbean. And her given name is Blurry, and her Taino name is Conchwoman. Conchwoman down around there. Oh, thank you. Yes, this young man comes all the way from Oklahoma. He's from the Kiowa tribe, and his given name is Matthew, and his Kiowa name is Corn Eater. Corn Eater there. And down around the end, this young man is descended from a group of Native American people who used to live right here in New Jersey many years ago. They have since moved from New Jersey, now live in the state of Oklahoma. They're Dakota, Delaware. But he is descended from the original Lenape tribe of New Jersey. This is Alan Shillingstone. And myself, I'm very lucky because I have two Native American names. That's because my father is from the Hopi tribe from Arizona, so I have a Hopi name. And my mother's from the Winnebago tribe from Nebraska, so I have a Winnebago name. My given name is Lewis. My Hopi name is Cloud standing straight in the sky. And my Winnebago name is Green Rainbow. That's who I am. All right, thank you. Now, I'd like to say just a couple of things about Native American people that you may or may not know. But today, in the United States, there are a little over 5 million Native American people living. Many on reservations in many large cities like New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, all across the country. But when I say 5 million, I'm only talking about the United States. Our homeland, where our people come from, is 2 continents, North America and South America. That's where our people come from. Now, I have no idea how many Native people there are in Canada. I have no idea how many there are in Mexico. And I certainly have no idea how many there are in South America. But I don't think I'd be too wrong if I were to tell you that today, in 2024, there are millions of Native American people living in North and South America. The other thing that's kind of interesting is when you think about North and South America, the very tip of North America almost goes all the way up to the North Pole. The very tip of South America almost goes all the way down to the South Pole. That's a very large land mass area. So, we come in many different shapes, we come in many different colors, we come in many different sizes. We are not all the same. We're very, very different. Now, not only are there a little over 5 million Native American people living in the United States today, but they also speak over 150 different languages. That's how different we are. And what we're going to do today is to give you some of the songs and dances of some of the different tribes, to make you an understanding how different they are. And we'd like to start by doing some dances for you that come from a group of Native American people who live right across the river in New York State and just over the border in Canada. They're called the Hopi, people of the Longhouse or the Iroquois. And this first dance we'd like to do for you is a dance that they do to celebrate the coming of spring. Now, in a few more weeks, we're going to be going into the winter season. And in this part of the country, we usually have very long, cold winters. And when the springtime comes, it's a wonderful time of the year. The weather gets warmer, the trees start to get their leaves back, the flowers blossom. It's a beautiful time of the year. And because people are so happy that winter is over and springtime is coming, they do this dance to celebrate the coming of spring. They call it the robin dance. And the reason they call it the robin dance is because the robin is one of the very first birds that you see after the long, cold winter. And when you see the robin, you know that spring is coming soon. And so in their dance, they have some very quick hop-like steps, which is an imitation of the robin as it hops along the ground. Robin dance of the Iroquois. This next dance of the Iroquois we like to do, they call the smoke dance. And the origin of this dance goes back many, many years ago, when the Iroquois people used to live in what's called the Long House. And that's just what it was. A very long building, maybe 5 or 6 families would live together. The Long House was made out of bark, It had a bark roof, bark walls, and a dirt floor. Now, in the winter time, when it got very cold outside, in order to keep warm inside of the longhouse, they would have to build a fire. But in order to build a fire inside of the house, they had to have a hole in the ceiling for the smoke to go out. Now, on certain days during the winter time, there wasn't enough wind to draft that came in the doorways to carry the smoke out the smoke hole. So what the people would do is they would get together, they get very close to the fires, and they would dance. And as they move their feet and they move their bodies, this would help to make enough wind or draft to carry the smoke up the smoke hole. So they call that dance the smoke dance. Our next dance comes to us from Oklahoma. And this is the dance that the women do today called the Women's Fancy Shawl Dance. And they say the origin of this dance goes back around the year 1945, right after the Second World War. Now, during the war years, not only did the men volunteer for the armed services, but so did the women. And just like the men, they traveled all over the world. They went to many different countries. And as they traveled, the women would watch how the other women danced in all of these different countries. Now, back here, it was traditional for the women to do a very slow kind of dance around the outside of the circle. And on the inside of the circle, of course, the men will be doing much more vigorous kind of dancing. Well, when the women returned to their homes, they said, we don't want to dance just around the outside of the circle anymore. We want to dance on the inside of the circle just like the men do. And we don't want a really slow rhythm to our music. We want a faster rhythm, and we want to move faster. So they created what they call the Women's Fancy Shawl Dance. And when the women do this dance today, they wear the shawl over their shoulders and over their elbows, and they spin and they turn. And as they spin and turn, they open and close their arms. And they say the long fringe on the edges of the shawls that the women wear, when they dance and they sway back and forth, they remind you of the feathers that the men wear. Now, the difference between the women's dancing and the men's dancing is the fact that when the women dance, they do not wear the feathers and they do not wear the bells on their legs like the men do. But their footwork and their movements are very, very similar to the footwork and the movements of the men. So this is the Fancy Shawl Dance now from Oklahoma. South Dakota to the Sioux, or the Dakota people for our next dance. And this dance has something to do with the buffaloes. You know, many years ago, the Sioux people out of North and South Dakota depended on the buffaloes for many, many things. Number one was a source of food. Number two, the buffalo hides they were used to make their houses, or teepees. Number three, the buffalo skin they were used to make their clothes. And number four, the buffalo bones they were used to make spoons, knives, needles to sew it. The boys and girls used to take the buffalo ribs, which were very big. They would tie those together and they'd make a sled out of it and take a slide down the grassy hills in North and South Dakota. And of course, in the wintertime, they would use the buffalo chips to heat their lodges. But 300 or 400 years ago, the buffaloes didn't stay in one place. They wandered all over North and South Dakota. And because the people depended on the buffaloes for so many things, wherever the buffaloes would go, that's where the people would go. So the people moved from one camping area to a new camping area very often. But before they moved into a new camping area, there were a group of dancers that they would send out before the rest of the people. And these dancers would go into the new camping area and they would dance. But they were doing something else that was very, very important. Because out in North and South Dakota, the grass is very, very tall. And what these dancers were doing as they were dancing, they were taking their feet and they were crushing down the tall grass. So when the rest of the people arrived, they'd have a nice smooth flat area to put up their camp. And they might send out as many as 100 or 150 dancers. They might be out there for a couple of days dancing, and in that amount of time, they'd be able to crush down a nice large area for their camp. So they call that dance the grass dance. Regalia. We do not call it a costume. And the reason we don't call it a costume is because when you put on a costume, you don't put a costume on to pretend to be somebody else. I always talk about this to the young boys and girls. On Halloween, when you put a costume on, you might be Superman or Cinderella or someone else. Now, among the native people, we don't wear this as a costume. We're not pretending to be somebody else. This is our traditional way of dressing. So we call this our regalia, not a costume. And the regalia that Cornelius is wearing here is what the grass dancers wear when they dance. And they have this long fringe on the top or yoke of the shirt, the long fringe on his breechcloth, and the long fringe on his leggings. And they say they put that on there so that when the dancer moves back and forth, the fringe will sway back and forth and remind you of the tall grass blowing in the wind. So this is what the grass dancers wear when they dance. The other thing I want to mention too is that these dances go back many, many years, but they are still done today. And of course, the grass dance is not done today to crush down the grass. We have lawnmowers like everybody else. But today this dancing is done as a competition dance and what we call powwows. Now powwows are social gatherings where we come together to dance and to sing and to have a good time. Well, at these powwows they have dance competitions. And one of the biggest categories for the competitions is the grass dance category for the men. And you might have as many as 50 or 60 grass dancers out there, and they have a panel of judges who will pick the first prize winner, the second prize winner, the third prize winner. The same is true of the women's fancy shawl dance, another very, very popular category. And there again, they have a panel that chooses the first prize, second prize, and third prize. Now, this next dance we're going to bring up is a dance that's very popular among the Winnebago people, particularly the young boys and girls. It's called the calumet or contest dance. And this is what the contest is. The dancers take a tiny feather, like the one you see in his hand. They put the feather down on the ground, and then during the dance, the dancer has to go down and pick that feather up off the ground. But when he goes down to pick it up, he doesn't pick it up with his hands. When he goes down to pick the feather up, he has to pick the feather up with his mouth. And when he goes down to pick it up, he's not allowed to put his hands on the ground. He's not allowed to put his knees on the ground. And he's not allowed to put his elbows on the ground. The only part of his body that will touch the ground are his feet. So this is the contest, the calumet dance now from the Winnebago people. Shooting stars no longer a young boy. In fact, last December, he celebrated his 77th birthday. Now, next dance comes to us from the Hopi people in Arizona. And I just want to mention that all of the dances that we're doing for you today are social dances. I say that because a lot of times when people see Native American dancing, the first impression is, oh, this must be something very, very sacred, very ceremonial. Well, that's not true. These dances we're doing for you are social dances. However, there are dances that are done today which are sacred and ceremonial. Among many of the tribes today, they still practice their own Native American religion. And as part of that religious practice, there are dances and songs that they do, but they are closed to outsiders. If you are not from that particular reservation and you do not practice that particular religion, you would not be permitted to come in, to observe, or to participate in those dances. These dances we're doing for you are social dances, and are the dances you will probably see if you were to go to any of the reservations. This next dance is kind of interesting because this was a sacred or ceremonial dance many, many years ago. But it's come down to us today as a social dance, which you can see if you were to go out to the Hopi Pueblos. It's called the Eagle Dance. And many, many years ago, one that was sacred, it was a dance that I think has mistakenly been called a rain dance. You know, we're often asked, do we have a dance that we can do that'll make it rain? And the answer to that question is no, we do not. there isn't any dance that anyone can do that's going to make it rain. These dances, which are mistakenly called rain dances, are what we call prayer dances. This is our way of praying, asking the Creator to bring us rain. Now, why was rain so important to the Hopi people out in Arizona and to many of the other tribes in Arizona and New Mexico? Because they were an agricultural people. They depended upon their crops for their food. And one of the only places you're going to get water to grow those crops out in the Arizona desert is from the rain. So many of their dances are prayer dances, asking the Creator to bring the rain. I often tell young boys and girls, when you pray, you might go to a church, you might go to a synagogue, you might go to a mosque. When we pray, we dance. That's how we pray. Now, among the Hopis, they believe when you see an eagle flying very high in the sky and doing very particular kind of movements, that's a sure sign that rain is going to be coming soon. And so, in the dance, the dancer imitates those movements of the eagle. Eagle dance of the Hopis. This dance comes from Oklahoma. And again, this is a very favorite category at the powwow gatherings as a competition. It's called the old style of traditional warriors dance. And they say that this is the way the warriors used to dance many, many years ago. When they returned to the village, then if all the people gathered very much the same as we gathered here this afternoon. At that time, they would come out and they would dance for the people. And as they were dancing, they say, they were telling you a story with their movements of some of the experiences that they had while they were out on the trail. We're going to see Shooty start first as he comes to riding his horse. You might also notice that in his hand he carries a dance stick that has been carved in the image of his favorite horse. We see him then as he gets down off of his horse, and as he dances, he looks and points to the ground. That's to show you that he's following the footprints of his enemy. You'll also notice that as he dances, he gets down very close to the ground. And that's to show you that he's trying to hide or conceal himself behind the bushes and the trees. But the other thing about these warriors that was very, very important, the tribe honored them. They looked up to them. They had great honor and respect for the warriors. So, whenever they would dance, they would always show you when they danced how proud they were to be the protectors of the people. So this is the old style of traditional warrior dance now from Oklahoma. Regalia, because he had lots of very interesting parts to what he was wearing. Starting with his headdress. This headdress is made out of porcupine hair. Not many people know that the porcupine not only has very long, sharp heels, they also have very long hairs, which are taken and rolled into this kind of a headdress. But there aren't many hairs in a porcupine. It takes about 3 or 4 porcupines to get enough hair to make this kind of a headdress. On Shooting Star's back, he's wearing what's called the dance bustle. This is usually made from eagle feathers. And they say the arrangement of the feathers in the bustle represents the formation that the warriors would take when they went into a battle. On Shooting Star's chest, he's wearing what's called a breastplate. Just like this is made out of buffalo bones. And just like in medieval Europe, the knights had metal armor. Well, the warriors over here would wear a breastplate like this, and if they were shot at with an arrow, hopefully the arrow would hit the breastplate, bounce off, and not injure the warrior. And then down around Shooting Star's legs, up near his knees, he's wearing what are called 2 claws. These are made from the hoofs of a deer. They would take those, tie those to a thong, and then tie those on their legs to help them keep time with the rhythm of the drum. So this is what the old style of traditional warrior dances wear when they dance. And I'd just like to also mention a little bit about what I'm wearing, this headdress I have on. A lot of times when people see that, they say, oh, he must be a chief. Well, I am not a chief. I'm wearing this headdress because this is something that was given to me by my great aunt. My great aunt had 2 brothers who were killed in the First World War. And the tribe wanted to honor her in some way and honor her 2 brothers. So they gave her the right and privilege to wear a headdress. Now she's the only person ever in the Winnebago tribe that was ever given the honor and privilege of wearing a headdress like the one you see me wearing. And when she got older, she wanted to say, okay, I'm going to give this headdress now to you. And I want you to wear this in honor of your 2 uncles who were killed in the First World War. So that's why I wear this headdress, part of our tradition. And there's something else I want to say about my great-great-aunt, because I just realized that here in Fort Lee, where the movies were made many, many years ago, and I was outside looking at the Hall of Fame stars, and I saw his name was James Young here. He was married to my aunt. My great-aunt's name was Red Wing, and she was a movie star way back in the silent film days. In fact, starred in the first movie that Cecil B. DeMille ever directed. And it's called The Squaw Man. And she was the star of that movie. So I saw that outside and I said, it's really wonderful to see that it's here. And she told me stories so many times about formerly in the movie industry back in the silent film days. But she was here probably making movies with them here many years ago. But anyhow, yeah, let's give her a hand. And also, something you may not know, that song so many people know today as "The Moon Shines So Bright on Pretty Red Wings." That was a song composed in honor of her when she was way back in the silent film days. But anyhow, this last dance we'd like to do now is a really special dance, and it's called the hoop dance. And we understand it originated among the Taos Pueblo people out in New Mexico. The object of the dance is to take a series of hoops, the first placed along the ground. Then the dancer picks up each one of the hoops without using their hands, and then dances in and out of the hoops while keeping in time with the rhythm of the drum. Now each year in Phoenix, Arizona, at the Herd Museum, they have what they call the National Hoop Dance Championships. And there are hundreds of hoop dancers that come there for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, from all over the United States and all over Canada to come there to compete, to see who's going to be chosen as the National Hoop Dance Champion for that year. Now, in past years, the title has been taken mostly by the men, but I'm very happy to say that the women now are beginning to enter the competition. And today, there are many, many women who are taking the title of a National Hoop Dance Champion. We're very, very proud of our young lady here. She's been doing this hoop dance now for a few years. She's become very, very accomplished as a hoop dancer, and we're hoping someday, very, very soon, to send her out to Phoenix, Arizona to compete in the competition as a New York City representative in the Hoop Dance Championships. So, here now is the hoop dance from the Taos Pueblo people of New Mexico.
Oh
thank you very much. And once again, I want to thank all of you for being here today and helping us to celebrate Native American Heritage Month. And I hope you enjoyed our songs and dances. And we like to say this though, we never like to say goodbye, but rather, until we meet again, thank you very much.